We are on lesson 16, multiplying fractions in word problems. Problem number 1 says, tell whether each equation showing a mixed number written as a fraction is true or false. So the first one says 1 3/4 is equal to 7/4. So the way that we go from a mixed number to an improper fraction is we multiply our denominator by the whole number and then we add our numerator. So 4 times 1 is 4, plus 3 is 7. So this one is true. The next one, 5 times 4 is 20, plus 2 is 22. So 22 over 5 is true. And remember, you keep the same denominator. So that's something else we kind of need to look for. So right off the bat, I'm noticing these have different denominators. So I don't even have to worry about the numerators because I see that they are different. So this one's going to be false. The last one, 10 times 2 is 20, plus 7 is 27 over 10. That one is true. Number 2 says Camilla's class played soccer for 2/3 of an hour. She played for 3/5 of the game. How much time did Camilla play? So she played for 2/3. If they played for 2/3 an hour, but she only played for 3/5 of that game. We're multiplying them here. And remember the rules of multiplication. You multiply the numerators. 2 times 3 is 6. Then you multiply the denominators. 3 times 5 is 15. So she played for 6/15 of an hour, which is B. But it says Will chose A as the correct answer, which says 5/15. So how did he get that answer? Well, looking at what we have over here, it looks like he multiplied the denominators, which was good. But it looks like he just added the numerators. And of course, when it comes to multiplying fractions, standard algorithm tells us we have to multiply the numerators and multiply the denominators. That's how you multiply fractions. So our next problem kind of has 2 steps to it. It says how many minutes are in 2/3 of an hour, and then how many minutes are in 3/5 of that time. So I'm going to take this first problem. It says how many minutes are in 2/3 of an hour. Well, we have to know how many minutes are in an hour. And of course we know there are 60. So I'm going to take 2/3 and multiply it by 60. And we know that when we have a whole number, we can turn it into a fraction by putting it over 1. So I'm going to multiply it straight across. 2/3 times 60 over 1, 2 times 60 is 120. 3 times 1 is 3. Well, we know because earlier lessons told us that this fraction bar right here is the same thing as divided by. So if I took 120 and I divided it by 3, 3 goes into 12 4 times. 4 times 3 is 12. We're going to subtract, bring down. 3 goes into 0, 0 times. 0 times 3 is 0, and we have 0 as a remainder. So the first answer, how many minutes are in 2/3 of an hour? The answer is 40 minutes. And then it wants to know how many minutes are in 3/5 of that time, of the 40 minutes. So I'm going to come over here and start working on that. We're going to take our 3/5 times 40, which I'm going to stick that over 1 because it's a whole number. So 3 times 40 is 120. 5 times 1 is 5. Once again, I have another division problem. 120 divided by 5. 5 goes into 12. 2 times 5 is 10. I'm going to subtract and I get a 2. Bring down my 0. 5 goes into 20 4 times. 4 times 5 is 20. So how many minutes are in 3/5 of that 40 minutes? There are 24 minutes. Okay, number 4 says Caleb has 2 1/5 yards of rope. He uses 3/4 of the rope to make a dog leash. Which expression can be used to represent 3/4 of 2 1/5? Circle the letter for all that apply. So remember, there could be more than one. So the first one, letter A, says 3/4, looking good so far because I see my 3/4 here, times 2, so we're taking care of our whole number 2, times 1/5. Well, I see my 1/5 represented here in the 2 1/5, but that's not really going to make sense because we're going to have to have something that looks a little bit more like this, where it's representing the 3/4 being multiplied also by the 1/5. So it's not going to work for us. All right, let's look at B. B says 3/4 times 11/5. Well, that doesn't help me unless I know what 2 1/5 looks like as an improper fraction. So let's work on that over here. So 2 1/5, what is that as an improper fraction? So I know I'm going to have a denominator of 5. So 5 times 2 is 10, plus 1 more is 11. So yes, that actually works for us because we have to multiply those two. Let's look at C. C says 3/4 times 2, so far so good, plus, oh, this is really looking good, 3/4 times 1/5. Yes, that works for us because that's separating the 2 and the 1/5 at using this plus sign, which is what this one didn't have over here. So yes, that works. And then D doesn't really make sense. It has 3/4 times 3/4 plus 1/5. Nope, doesn't even make sense for us. Number 5 says Dante and 2 classmates are making a poster to advertise a bike to school day event. It's 1.5 yards long and 3/4 yards wide. How large a writing area does that give them? So this is kind of like an area problem. So we have 1.5 times 3/4. So I know this one right here has to be written as an improper fraction. So my denominator is going to be 2. 2 times 1 is 2, plus 1 more makes 3, times 3/4. 3 times 3 is 9. 2 times 4 is 8. So I've got to switch it back over here to a mixed number. 8 goes into 9 one time with 1 left over. So 1 1/8 yards squared. Our last problem says Manny hiked 6 2/5 miles along a mountain trail. He stopped to climb a lookout tower 1/4 of the way along his hike. How many miles did Manny hike before he stopped to climb the lookout tower? So we have 6 2/5 miles times 1/4. So just like this one up here, we have to turn this into an improper fraction. So 5 times 6 is 30, plus 2 more makes 32, times our 1/4. 32 times 1 is 32. That's pretty easy. 5 times 4 is 20. So we have a couple options right here. I can go ahead and turn this into a mixed number, or I can go ahead and reduce. I'm going to choose to go ahead and turn it into a mixed number. So I'm going to make a denominator of 20. 20 goes into 32 one time, because 20 times 1 is 20, and then 12 more gets me to 32. So now I'm going to go ahead and reduce. I can see that 12 and 20 both can be reduced by 2, or I can go one step further and divide them both by 4. I'm running out of room here. So I'm going to keep my whole number of 1. 12 divided by 4 gives me 3. 20 divided by 4 gives me 5. So 1 3/5 miles.